Ocular migraines and anxiety, zigzags, sparkly fireworks, and big old blind spots in your vision that come out of nowhere and feel super scary. Now, I get these now and then. And as someone who used to struggle with panic disorder and anxiety, I remember how terrifying they were at first. And that's exactly why I talked about them last week. And I want to talk more about them today. Here's what's interesting about ocular migraines. They're generally not dangerous, but they can feel incredibly scary, especially if you're already dealing with anxiety in some form. And yes, it's totally normal to feel frightened when this happens. I know I was totally freaked out the first time, and really the first few times that I experienced ocular migraine or migraine with aura. Migraine with aura to me felt like a crisis. And for a while afterwards, I would find myself constantly checking for visual disturbances and trying to avoid anything that I feared might trigger another go around. And that might sound familiar because that's what anxious people do with almost anything. Now, while doctors don't really know the exact cause of ocular migraine right now, they do believe that it's related to temporary changes in blood flow. And no, for those of you who like to ask Reddit health questions, they are not mini strokes, though I know for anxious people, that's often a fear that pops up. There are some common factors that make ocular migraines more likely, including stress, and being afraid of your own body and mind certainly qualifies as a stressor. Good stress management and overall wellness routines is excellent. We don't want to turn those healthy practices into excessive control strategies or avoidance behaviors. Fighting against those experiences often makes our anxiety worse. We've heard this before. It's similar to how we handle anxious thoughts or sensations. The more we resist and try to control them, the stronger they become and the more we spiral. So instead of falling into that trap of avoidance and hypervigilance, we can practice accepting those experiences for what they are: temporary discomfort that is going to pass. I'm not suggesting that you shouldn't get checked out by a medical doctor. This isn't medical advice because I'm not qualified to give you medical advice, but I can talk about how we can handle these experiences psychologically once we know that they're not dangerous. So go get checked out. Now, these things typically last anywhere from 20 minutes to even 60 minutes. And yes, they're certainly disruptive. And yes, they're certainly really uncomfortable and scary, but they do pass. Just like a wave of anxiety, we can learn to ride it out instead of fighting against it. So if you're dealing with both ocular migraines and anxiety, try to remember this. You don't need to add more restrictions to your life than you already have. You can learn to handle these experiences without letting them control your choices or add to the limitations that anxiety might already be placing on your life. And I know this isn't easy, but just like recovery from anxiety, handling an ocular migraine gets easier with practice and the right approach. You can handle this, you got this, and you're not the only one in this experience, so hang in there. I hope this helped.